give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away. I give myself away so you can. Come on, let him know. I give myself. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away. What would happen if a generation embraced this? Come on, tell them. Here I am. Here I am. Here I stand. Lord, my life is in your hands. Lord, I long to see your desires revealed in me. I give myself away. My life does not belong to me. Give myself away. I want to be used.
Hi everyone, my name is Zian Olude. I'm here in Florida on holiday and I got the opportunity to meet Paula Yorker. And she told me one or two things about her life which I found to be very interesting, and I felt it would be really lovely to share it, with other people, because I know for sure that somebody out there will definitely gain something from the story that Paula is about to tell us. So, Paula.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you very much for taking the time to come and speak to me and for me to be able to ask you questions regarding intimate experiences that you've encountered in your lifetime. So we're going to be talking today about Sia, who is Paula's daughter, who passed away
in 2011. 2011.
2011. So you lost Paula. So I've asked Paula to tell us a little bit about before she had Sia, just for us to have a background information about Sia, and then any questions that comes up, I'll be asking as we go along.
Okay.
So it's over to you, Paula.
Okay, Zian. First of all, I'm very grateful for this opportunity to share, and I pray that someone is touched by something that is shared during this session, during this interview. So first of all, Zian, I prayed and asked God for a husband. Most of my buddies at the time, I was living in DC, they had their boyfriends, quote unquote, sugar daddies, all that stuff. But I wanted someone different. And I remember I was crying in my apartment one day, and I just said, God, will I ever get married? And if I do, I would like to have someone older than myself, someone settled, content, that loved you, and that had something to offer, and also that had a sports car. I was very specific. And you might be thinking, well, why the sports car? Yeah. So, because when I was younger, I wouldn't say I was cheated out of one, but I had an opportunity to get a car, a Fiat X19, and my great aunt was going to co-sign. But every time I would go there to practice with the car, I didn't feel safe. And so the day she went to co-sign, the guy took me out for another drive, and I couldn't get the gears. And I remember coming back, my aunt's back was towards the glass, and I almost went straight through that. And so I told the guy, no. He said, no, you'll be okay. I said, no, I'm not going to get it. I'm not doing it. And so when I went in, I told my great aunt that I wasn't going to get it. And she said, why? I said, because I decided not to. I'll wait. It wasn't until years later I told her what had happened. And plus, one of our high school buddies, he had died after graduation in his sports car. And so that in itself had a lot to do with it. But it was a little while after that that I met my husband. And the funny thing is that I was supposed to be carpooling with a friend to go to work because I worked at NIH in Bethesda. I worked for Dr. Anthony Fauci at the time. And but she had a class to take. And so I took the subway. And right when the Bethesda Chevy Chase, and so right when I was getting ready to go down off the escalator, this guy come running behind me, yelling, miss, miss. And I turned around and I looked and I said, look like the guy almost hit me with the bus. I'm saying to myself. And so he came over and he said, I am so sorry. I said, excuse me, aren't you the guy who almost hit me with the bus? And he said, yeah, but it was, I said, well, where are the people? He said, they're on the bus. So I got to hurry up. And I said, so what is it? So he wanted to get my number. And I told him no. And so I looked at his eyes. He had the Jerry curl back then. And he had the prettiest eyes. Oh my goodness. And so I said, no, but I'll take your number. And he gave me his number. And so it wasn't until a month later I called. But when I called, the answer machine came on. And I wasn't used to the answer machines back then. So I said, this guy must be a player. I don't have time. So I never even left a message. And then I started calling a couple times. And then he had his son. He would get his son for the weekend. And he wanted to get together. And I was like, no, go ahead and, spend time with your son. Because that was new for me. And I'm saying to myself, okay, you got kids and stuff too? That's all right. That's a lot going on. But anyway, to make a long story short, one day I called him because I was waiting for one of my buddies. We were going to go have dinner. And just a friend, we grew up together. And when I called him, he was looking at the football game. So back in the day, everybody, they used to call me Shorty P. So he said, Shorty P, I'm going to call you back as soon as the game is off. And I said, okay. And I said to myself, wait a minute, I'm hungry. Let me call Mr. York and see what he's doing. And so I did. And, believe it or not, he was getting ready to go out to dinner. And he asked me, did I want to join him? And that was the first time I gave him a yes. Every other time it was, we'll see, we'll see, we'll see. And we went out to dinner.
So how long was it between the first time when he saw you and then you actually answered?
Yes, it was.
Yes,
it was probably about 4 months. Yeah, it was a good little time in between there. But I gave him my address and he came to pick me up at my apartment. And we went out. And so I was looking, I was younger. I lived right across the street from the basketball court. All the fellas out playing ball. And I'm saying, okay, where's this guy's car at? We kept walking and walking. And I'm saying to myself, okay, maybe it's this car. He parked way down the street because there weren't any parking spaces. And, the Lord has a sense of humor. He had this long old Thunderbird with a big old rusted top. And all I could do was laugh. I just fell out laughing. And I guess he thought I was laughing at his car, but I wasn't. I just said, God, you have a sense of humor. And so he opened the door, took me out. We went to a seafood restaurant and we closed the place down. We had so much fun, like we knew each other forever. And so from that day on, we just started dating.
Wow.
We would go out to shows, just so many different things. And he was what I prayed for. However, it wasn't until, I don't know, after we started dating, I want to say maybe 6 months later that I realized he had a sports car. We were coming out of his condo and I was going to the Thunderbird. And he said, come on. And I said, come on, where? He said, come on, let's get in the car. I was like, get out of here. That's not your car. We're going over here. He said, no. I said, that's not your car. He said, it is. I said, I've never seen that car. He said, it's been here all along. He just never drove it.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
Absolutely.
And so, but I didn't catch any of that until after we had been married a few years, had our daughter, and then we moved to Florida. And I was in the kitchen cooking one day, and the Lord reminded me of all that. And I just fell to the floor crying, just thanking the Lord, because he gave me the desires of my heart. That day I cried. I also asked for a child. Will I ever have a child? if I do just one, and I would love for it to be a girl. And I said, Lord, I'd love to have a home one day, a house somewhere. And that was it. That was it. And the Lord gave me everything I asked for.
So, you said that you asked the Lord to give you an older
Yes.
man.
Yeah.
So is your husband?
Yes, my husband is older. He's handsome, but he's older.
Okay.
And he's just what I needed for me, you know. We complement each other. He's helped me to grow in a lot of ways. I've helped him to grow in a lot of ways. And he's really my best friend. He knows all my family, you know, even though my mom has passed on and my dad, but he knows all my family. And so we have history.
Just, you know, out of curiosity. So was he, at the point when he met you, was he already married and divorced, or?
When he met me, he had been divorced for like 10 years.
Oh,
Yeah, so he was single. Yeah. So ladies, please don't take anybody's husband, okay? Even if they say they're married and it's not working out and we're on our way getting a divorce, don't do it. Because God doesn't like that. And it will bring bad things for you, you know? And that's one of the things my mom always told me, do not mess with a married man. She made sure that she stuck that into me. You know, she instilled it, do not do that. And so I always took that to heart, because that person belongs to someone else. No matter how many promises they make you, the bottom line at the end of the day, that's someone else's husband. And you don't want to start dating a married man and then he leave his wife to be with you. Because if that happens, he'll leave you to be with somebody else too. And plus that person isn't yours. So just wait for God.
thank you very much for clarifying that.
Yeah, that was a good question, Rosie. Thank you for asking. Yeah, but no, I wouldn't do that.
Oh,
No,
good.
I
I'm
would
glad
not
to hear that.
do that. No.
I'm glad.
But you know, he's a good guy. And the Lord, he's blessed us. He blessed us with Sia, our daughter. And before I was pregnant, I had a dream. And everything happened. The same thing that happened in the delivery room happened in a dream. And she came out. I had the lights and everything in the surgery room. And she was so light. I mean, she was light. And you know, I'm brown. I'm dark skinned. My husband's light skinned, but she was lighter than him. She was more like his mom because she has some Indian in her. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's so light, just like your mom in a dream. And I said, it's a girl. Oh, give it to my husband so he can lift her up to the Lord. And then I woke up and I was crying. And he was like, what's wrong? And I told him about the dream. And it was a little later when I found out I was pregnant.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I've got goosebumps going through my
Yeah,
veins.
that was kind of yeah.
Chilling.
I was like, oh, it's a girl.
Oh wow, my goodness. So so what was Sia like as a child growing up?
So Sia is my husband's only daughter,
All right.
and she's my only pregnancy ever. She's my only child. She has brothers, and she has a stepsister named Val, but it's not my husband's. But because it's her brothers,
Yeah.
he always loved her like such. So she has her brothers and Val and her sister, and everybody loved her because she was named after her grandmother, and she was a good kid. You know, she's a good kid. Of course, you know, your kids get on your nerves sometimes, but she was our blessing. And so we moved to Florida because we wanted to give her a different type of lifestyle, get away from the rat and race of the busyness up north in DC. And so we raised her here. We moved here when she was 15 months, and we've been here ever since until her situation happened. Mm-hmm.
Right. So Sia is a beautiful name. And I would just love to know if it has a meaning.
It does. So when I was working at NIH one day, I was parked my car on the hill, and there was a doctor coming down the hill, and it started raining. So he shared his umbrella with me. And he was from Sierra Leone, Africa. So I said, oh, thank you. I said, so where are you from? Because I knew he had a little accent. And he said, Sierra Leone, Africa. And I said, wow. And I said, so how do you say firstborn baby girl over there? I don't know. It just came out. He said, Sia. I said, Sia, how do you spell it? He said, S-I-A. I said, wow, that is beautiful. If I ever have a baby that's a girl, I'm going to name her Sia because she will be the firstborn baby girl. And we just chatted, had no idea I was pregnant then, you know? Isn't that something?
Absolutely.
So that's what it means. It means firstborn baby girl from Sierra Leone, Africa. And also when she was 6, she found her name in the Bible. She said, Mom, my name's in the Bible. I said, no, baby, I don't think your name's in the Bible. She said, yes, it's in Nehemiah. And sure enough, it was in Nehemiah.
Oh, wow.
And it means leader in the sanctuary.
Fantastic.
And so in that she...
Leader in the sanctuary.
sanctuary.
Oh, my goodness. That's powerful.
Yeah.
That is so powerful.
So...
Oh, that's brilliant. So at what age was it that Sia started to feel unwell?
Okay, so Sia grew up in Deltona, and she went to school here. And so she was an honor student pretty much her whole life. She did get notes written home that she was talking too much in class in the first grade. So, you know, what you gonna say? But otherwise than that, she was a good kid. So she went to Pine Ridge High School, the same high school that Asia and Kai graduated from too. And she was an honor student there. And so the principal, Mr. Russell, who just went home to be with the Lord in December of last year due to COVID. And we were very close with him. He was the one who encouraged us to get her into UNF in Jacksonville because it was right off of 95. If we needed to get to her, it would only be 2 hours away. Now, keep in mind, we had taken her to other colleges to check them out.
How old was she at this point?
She graduated at 17, and she started college at 17. Mm-hmm. And so we went to Tampa.
So college, just because in England, we have secondary school and then we have university.
Okay, so she was at university.
So college is university.
Yes, college is university, yes. And secondary, I guess, would be high school.
Yeah, secondary.
Okay. So she graduated from secondary when she was 17, and she started college, university at 17.
Right.
So, but prior to that, you have to take your kids, well, parents should take them to see different colleges. And so we took her to Tampa, and so when we got there, was a lot of music going on, and, you know, she's like, oh yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be. You know, they were just partying. I said, the devil is a liar. I just started praying. You know, I was like, nobody. So I prayed in tongues all the way home from there. You hear me? No way. And thank the Lord he honored my prayer because there was a letter came in and said, I'm sorry you weren't accepted. I said, hallelujah.
Oh, wow.
And I felt bad because she was so sad about that. I said, you know what, baby, don't worry. God has a plan, you know.
That's right.
I just said, hallelujah. Because, you know, your kids, when they leave home, they can get caught up in that other life and things like that. And it's, for me as a parent, I would say that I can't say, don't you ever go to a club, you know. Of course, we wouldn't want them maybe to do that, but I couldn't do that. My mom allowed me to do certain things, you know. But it didn't take me away from God, you know? And so you try to have that balance with your kids. To make a long story short, we went to university, UNF in Jacksonville, and we loved the college. It was beautiful, and she loved it too. And the Lord opened that door for her. She was accepted there. And that's where she went to school. Until she was 19, she came home for Christmas. And she came home for...
So I'm just going to take it. So at college, what was she studying?
She was going to school to be a pediatric doctor.
Oh, wow.
She had always wanted to be a pediatric doctor. She loved kids. Even at church, she did the kids ministry, everything. The kids loved her. She always worked in the nursery. And so that's, since she was like 7, she always said, Mommy, I'm not going to college. I said, oh yeah. She said, no, Mommy, I'm going to the university, you know? Okay, that's fine, as long as you go. But yeah, she always wanted to do that. And so that's what her goal was. So when she came home for Christmas break, you have to bring most of your things home from the university. she said she wasn't going to go back to school. I said, well, wait a minute, you have to go back to school. She said, no. She said, Mom, I'm going to come home. I'm going to go to Seminole State Community College for a semester. I'm going to get a job, and I am going to get accepted in that medical program in Gainesville. And so that's fine. And so everything she said, that's exactly what she did. She went to Seminole State for a semester. She opened up the new Ross in Lake Mary, Florida, where she took the stuff off the truck and brought it in the store. And she got accepted in the medical program in Gainesville to be a pediatric doctor. My husband had taken her shopping for her apartment. Like a week later, that's when she was complaining about her head was hurting. And so we took her to the doctor. She got a checkup, took her to the eye doctor. They did a checkup. They said nothing. They couldn't see anything. As a matter of fact, one of her eyes got better. But she was working and going to school, working and going to school. And so this one day, this Friday, she was going to go out with some buddies. Because they said, girl, you just working all the time at school. And so they were going to get together. But it didn't happen because we had a bad rain that evening. And my husband and I had gone to the prison to do prison ministry with a friend. And we were waiting for the gentleman to come in, but they didn't. They put everybody on lockdown because there was a severe storm.
Right.
And I was like, okay, good. We got to get home. I don't know, in my heart, Zian, I felt like, I can't even explain, like this was my last day with her and I needed to hurry up and get home. And when we were driving home, I mean, there were big balls of hell coming down.
Wow.
And I told my husband, I said, honey, can you just drive a little faster? And he looked at me like, you never asked me to drive faster. You know, I said, I can't explain it, but I just feel like this is my last night with Sia. We need to hurry up and get home before she goes out.
You never said that.
I did. I'm serious. And when he pulled in that driveway, if you could have seen me run out of that car to get in the house, and she was in the bathroom, and I just grabbed her and I held her, and she said, okay, Mom, all right, like, what's going on? I said, oh, I just love you. She said, okay, I love you too, like, okay. I said, oh my God, I just held her. And she said, Mom, I said, I just wanted to get here before you left, you know. And she said, well, we're not going. I said, why? She said, because one of her friends, auntie, who raised her, said that she didn't want her to go because of the weather. And I said, oh, okay. I said, well, you know, I know you're disappointed, but you got to respect that. And there's a reason for everything. So she was in her room doing her homework. I went in there with her for a little bit and came back out, fixed some popcorn. My husband and I was looking at a movie. She came out. And literally, that was my last night with her, per se.
Wow. So what happened?
So the next morning when I got up, I was getting my stuff ready to go to the gym, to go to the prison in Orlando to minister to the youth. And when I was sitting in my chair in the living room, I heard the Holy Spirit whisper. He said, go get your towel. And I said, oh, wow, you are such a gentleman. Because I did. I forgot my towel. I was going to go swimming at the gym. And when I went in there, she was in the bathroom laying on the floor with a towel up under her head. And I shook her. I was like, Sia. I said, what's going on? She said, Mommy, it's my head. It's my head. And I said, okay. I went and got my husband. He called the ambulance. I got her dressed. And they came to get her. And she was talking. She was coherent. She gave them all the information. I rode with her in the ambulance. And once we got to the hospital, I was talking with her. And she was telling me that Biscuit, our dog, found her in the bathroom. I said, so what did he do? He licked me, Mom. I was like, oh, that Biscuit, that little shit. So that was her little dog. And he's just so precious. And so we were talking, and then my husband came. And so he called her Boom Boom. So he was talking to her. And then he noticed that she had become like this, like rigid. Like he said, she's having a seizure. And I was like, what? She can't be having a seizure. We were just talking to her. And then he went to get the doctors, and they took her out because he's a retired nurse, so he knew exactly what was going on. And then they did the MRI, and that's when they saw bleeding on the outside of the right side of her brain. So they had to air back her to Halifax. And in Daytona, she was going to be monitored, but when we got there, they had already started the surgery. And so I was just like, wow, everything just happened so fast. It didn't even give me a chance to like really catch a breath. I just had to keep up with the movement of everything. But once we got on the other side, as a matter of fact, when we got there, William McDowell, he's a musician, a worshiper. He made that song, I give myself away. Well, his mother beat us there. And so we were running, trying to get to the place where she was having the surgery in case the doctor came out. But she was in there for a long time. And when I got to the waiting room, I couldn't even see who was there. I didn't even care. I just fell to my knees as soon as I walked in to the waiting room. And I just lifted up my hands and I just started worshiping. Every song I could think of, I just started singing unto the Lord. Because there comes a time like in your life when you have no control over nothing.
Yeah.
And all I knew to do was to worship you.
Yeah.
That's it. And finally the doctor came out and he told us, what had happened. And he had never, this is his second case like that.
Yeah. Can I just ask one question?
Yes, you can.
Just to take you back. So you made your way quickly as you could to get to the hospital where she was having the operation. Did it ever cross your mind at any time, although you believe really in God, God, and but did your faith at any point shake to say that maybe possibility that she might not make it through?
Zion,
did it ever cross your mind?
Not at that time. Not while I was in the process of the waiting. No. I just had to be still. That's all I knew, to worship and be still and let God do what he does. I never, ever doubted that she wasn't going to come through. When the doctor came out and told us that she really needed a miracle, because he said he only had, this is his second case ever like this, and the other person was an adult, older.
Yeah.
And he asked me, did she fall or anything? I said, no, she didn't. She was talking about her head was hurting, but at that time there was nothing to see. We took her to the doctor, we took her to the eye doctor, all that. And he said, well, even if you had gotten a CAT scan or something at that time, it probably wouldn't have shown up because you couldn't see anything.
So that was the question that was in my mind to ask, that could it have been if she had had a scan earlier?
Right.
They might have been able to save her.
Right. No, he said no. Because whatever it was, it just came that day. That's why the head was pounding. Right. And he said, even taking her to the eye doctor, if there was something back there, because the way that they look in, they could have seen something. And it wasn't anything to see at that time. Why we couldn't see it at that time, I have no idea. But we asked him, could we just pray? And my husband, he was just so hurt. He was like, listen, I don't care what you have to do. Whatever you have to do to save my daughter, just do it. Money isn't an option. And I remember looking at him, I said, honey, some things money just can't do. It's gonna have to be God if it's going to be, Yeah. I mean, I wish money could have done that, but, I don't know. It just came out of my mouth. I don't know. And so he prayed. The doctor prayed with us, and we just believed God. So we had to wait, and then he led us back there. And we all went back, and Pastor Sam Henn, he was our pastor at the time, he was there. And we went back, and she was all wrapped up and everything, and we were praying. And then they were going to move her up to the ICU. And I asked them if they could just go ahead. I just needed a minute with her. And so my husband said, okay. So they all left out. And I remember I said, listen, I was talking to her because, being in the medical field, the hearing is the last to go. And I said, Sia, listen, no matter what, we're going to trust God. You hear me? I said, we're going to trust God. And we know that God's going to bring you through. And there was this lady who came in. I guess she was a nurse or something. I don't know. But she came in and she said these words. She said, most times they don't make it through this.
Oh, wow.
And I looked at her and I said, I don't know about most times, but I know the God that I serve.
That's right.
And I said, Sia, don't you listen to that. and I knew that the lady, I knew she meant well. I don't think she was like the devil coming in there to put that in my head, but I just knew that wasn't the time for that.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, that was not the right time
that
to
was
say
the
that.
wrong time,
Totally
you
wrong.
know?
Yeah.
And so they came and they took her up to her room. And so we were waiting, just looking at the numbers because the swelling.
Yeah.
And we were praying that the swelling would go down, and you know, but the swelling, it wasn't going down. And that period was very difficult because that's the waiting period.
Yes.
And you're waiting on God to show up the way you're believing and hoping for him to show up, you know.
To do a miracle.
That's exactly what we needed, was a miracle.
Yeah.
And I remember her fiance, Sean, he was in the Navy.
Oh, she had a fiance then.
She did, yeah. His name was Sean. He wore a cute little ring, and he just loved Sia, you know. And I was so grateful too that she had an opportunity to, you know, to encounter love, someone that truly honored her, you know. Because a lot of times people never get that, and not knowing that she was going to be transitioning. Even after the fact, I was even more grateful, you know.
Yeah.
But
how long was she with her boyfriend before she took him?
They were probably together, probably almost like a year, if that long. Yeah, because he was in the Navy that was close to Jacksonville, where she went to school, and that's how she met him. Yeah, he was from New Jersey, as a matter of fact. And so, you know, just that waiting period, it was hard. My heart was beating, you know. I'm reading the scriptures and things like that. And I remember I had to cancel the prison thing, and I was called to let them know. And I'll never forget this, and I talk about this in the book. But it was the young lady on there, she said, well, listen, you need to read this scripture. I said, excuse me, this is not the time for that. I know what I need to do. I'm calling to let you know that I won't be there. I'm just trying to respect the authority, you know.
Yeah.
I said, but this is not the time. I already know what scriptures that I need to pray. And I said that because, you know, when things come up, people are trying to look for scriptures and, you know, trying to get this and that. But it's not in your heart. You're doing it out of fear because of anxiety, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And so I knew that if I didn't have the scriptures in me by now, I wasn't going to have them in me because, you know what I mean? It's going to be like magic, you know? Okay, God, what scripture do I read, you know? I prayed the scriptures that I knew because that's a way of life for me. So that's not the time to be telling somebody, you need to pray this and pray that, because if it's in you, it's going to come out. If it's not, you're going to be fumbling through stuff and you're not really trusting God to do what you're believing him to do. So it wasn't looking real good. And I remember we were able to get in touch with Sean. And the lady was there to check her to see if she was responding neurologically and all that. And when he started, and I said, Sean, please do not cry, whatever you do. Okay, you sure, I promise. And so when he started talking to her, the lady said, I don't know who that is, but we're getting some activity going on. She was responding to him.
Wow.
Oh, I got chills. And he started, and I took the phone, and he was just a boo-hooing. I said, Sean, he said, I know I'm not going to cry, I promise. But you know, what can you say? He was all the way over in the water in Africa, you know, so what do you expect? But I was so grateful that she was responding to him, you know, the way she could. And they were able to see that on the machine. But there came a time within those 3 days that I told God, I said, look, I need to talk to you. And I went outside, I'll never forget it. And my sons, they were there. They were like, Mom, you good? I'm good. I just need to be outside. I'm good. And I remember when I ran outside, I ran through the parking lot to this tree. And I said, God, what's up? What are you doing? Like, what is happening here? I just had to you know, because I wasn't quite getting it because everything happened so quickly, you know. it's almost like I didn't have time to process. And so I said, I thought you said you had plans for her and you want to do this and da 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 da, you know. And I said, God, she loved you and da 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 da. And he said, I still have plans for her. And I said, so what's going to happen? Like, what's going on? And this is what he told me. He said, do you trust me? I said, what? He said, do you trust me? I said, yes, God, you know I trust you. He said, do you love me? Yes, God, I love you. He said, will you trust me enough to obey me to let her go?
Oh, wow.
And I said, what? I said, oh, man, are you serious, God? Come on. And all I heard was go back inside. So I went back.
Oh, wow.
But at that time, Zian already knew what was going to happen. That's when I knew. When anytime he asked you, will you trust me enough to obey me to let her go?
Yeah. I've got the ghost shivers going through my spine.
So
Wow.
I went back in and I had to process. And that night I remember I went to the computer they had in the hallway, and I went to type something to someone, but my friend Lee Grady, he used to be the editor for Charisma magazine, and he had sent me an email asking me to pray for him for his Mordecai project he has. And when I wasn't gonna respond, but the Lord said respond, and I just started typing. And I said, yes, I will. And I said, Lee, I just need you to pray for me. I said, Sia's in the hospital, da-da-da-da, this is what's going on. And I said, the Lord asked me, will I trust him enough to obey him to let her go? And I said, Lee, that is hard. You know, that is the hardest thing. And he has like, I think 3 girls. And then I just started typing. I said, but you know, now I understand how the Father must have felt when Jesus, his only son, was getting ready to be crucified. He let him go for us, you know? And this wasn't me, this was the Holy Spirit. And if he could do that for us, then who am I that he would ask me, will I trust him enough to obey him to let her go? I said, so he's looking for a yes from me.
And were you able to give that yes?
I had to give it.
Oh my goodness.
I had to give him what he asked for. Because, I'm not saying it was easy, but I had to do it. Because he was the one who allowed me to conceive. You know, I was almost 30 when I had Sia. And he was the one who allowed my husband's prayers to be answered to have a girl. His first daughter, you know? And who am I to not say yes when so many people are having miscarriages, or they can't get pregnant, or they're abusing their kid? And he's allowed me to have her for 19, almost 20 years.
Can I just
You can
ask another question?
Sure.
So when you had Sia, did you ever consider at that time that maybe you should have more than one child?
No.
Oh.
No, because that's what I asked for.
Just the one child?
One. That day I was crying at my apartment, asking God for this, that, and the other. And if we'll ever have a baby, and if so, can it be just one, a girl? Yeah.
But did you try to conceive?
No.
For another?
No, never. Never.
Is that because you made that covenant with God, that you only just wanted the one?
No, I just, I never thought about really having another baby. And we made love a lot, but we didn't have any baby. Another baby. And then on top of that, later when we moved here, I was having, I had a cyst or something on my ovary. I didn't know it at the time, but it was like I was getting these bad pains. And also I had a appendicitis or something. So I had to have some surgery, and then there came a time when they had to remove one ovary. And that almost killed me, because I realized I could not have any, I felt like I was less than a woman then. You know, I couldn't have any kids if I wanted to, and, you know, just things like that. But it wasn't like I really wanted to have another kid. Had I had another kid, of course I would have embraced it and loved it. And now that Sia's gone, a lot of times I wish I would have had another one, you know. But no, he gave me what I asked for, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I would have responded to another kid having two kids, and that situation happened, because a lot of times parents shut the family out, especially the mother, because they feel like they're the only ones that's affected. They shut the kids off. They forget how they're feeling. They shut the husband off, and you know that's like one of the highest divorce rates too. So I don't know how I would have if I would have just lavished more love on that kid, or if I would have been distant, not being able to feel their pain because I was so wrapped up in my own. You know, so I'm just grateful for that, and I'm grateful for the encounters that the Lord allowed me to have at the hospital, allowed my husband to have. When I was having my encounter outside, he was going to the airport to pick someone up, and he was having his encounter.
What was his encounter?
His encounter was the Lord was letting him know that she was coming home. He was letting me know, but he was also letting him know too. At the same time. That's crazy, because we talked about it later that night.
So did he tell you, you know, the messages that was coming to him, or
he said the Lord told
it was just
him,
a feeling that he was feeling, you know,
said
because
that he
people
was
be
driving.
wondering that how do you know?
He said the Lord, like what is that, El Vito? It's this highway that leads to the airport, to Orlando Airport. And so he and Sia, whenever we were in the car, they were going someplace and they were going that way. There always used to be these doves like up on the top, all the way up at the top, and they would always see them or count them or something, and eagles. I'm sorry, they were eagles up there, and so as he was driving, he looked up there like he always did, and he saw the eagle, but he heard the Lord say that she's soaring. She's going to soar with me, and so he knew what that meant. So he was going through his thing in the car while he was going to the airport, and I was having my tantrum at the hospital outside, with the Lord. But I didn't know that until later that night when we talked about it. But I do know this, that I want to say maybe it was like the second day or so.
So on the actual day when Sia passed, so were you told that she was going, to cross over, or were you just there and you?
No, this is what happened. At her body, before that, I was in her room, and I was just talking to her, because I used to always take her little hands and rub my face, and she used to always love me to rub her little funny little toes, And so I was rubbing her hand against my face, and I was just telling her how much I loved her. And I'm telling you, I could hear her. And she said, "Mommy, it's okay. You can let me go." And I tried to act like I didn't hear her at first, but I heard her. And I said, "Lord, I thank you. I just thank you that you're going to pull her through." And she said, "Mommy, it's okay. You can let me go." And then she said, "Mom, come on." It was like she was saying, "Don't be so selfish. Like, come on, Mom, come on. It's okay. You got to let me go. Like, this is what you always prepared me for." And that's when I responded. And it was just me and her. And I know the nurses could see from the booth, but I said, "Listen, girl, it's hard for me to do that. You're my only child." And then I didn't hear anything. But I'm going to tell you one thing. When the Lord
So
said...
at that point, she had crossed over?
No, at that time, she was still there.
Oh, right.
She was still laying there with all this stuff hooked
Yeah.
up to her, know. And I remember I was just crying and rubbing my face with her hands. And looking at her, just looking at her. And I remember I stood at the foot of her bed. And I was just looking. And then I realized that she wasn't there. was like, you're not even there. And then I could see Zion, I could see this being behind me. I could see it with my spiritual eyes. I'm facing this way, but I could see it. And the feet never touched the ground. It had on all white. I don't know if it was Jesus or if it was an angel coming to get that I can't say. But one thing I can say is that I knew it was behind me. And the arms was out like this.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden, I heard her behind me. So then it covered not only me, but it covered her. And all I could hear her do was cry. She was crying. When I say crying, she was sobbing. And I didn't turn around because the Lord had already let me know that she wasn't there. So they were coming to get her. And she was crying because she was going to miss us. And she knew how painful it was going to be for us, you know. But she told me to let her go. The Lord told me, asked me, did I trust him, love him enough to let her go, obey him enough? Do you trust me enough to obey me to let her go? And so when I heard her crying, I already knew. Because even though you see a person lying there, when it's time for them to come, the Lord takes their soul.
That's right.
You know, that's what remains. It's the soul. This is just to identify me from you.
Yeah.
But I knew she wasn't. When I looked, I was looking, and then I was like, oh my God, you're not even there. She wasn't there.
So she had crossed over at that point.
She had crossed. But when my husband came in the room, he went over to talk to her, and I went over, and he said, I'm not gonna lie though, she had this glow. I'm telling you, she was like, I can't even explain it. It was a glow that just wiped you out. I was like, oh my God, you know? And then when my husband came in and he leaned over to kiss her, he said, oh my God, Boom Boom, you got such a glow. And when he leaned over, our heads bumped. You know, so that's exactly what we did too, Zia. We just started laughing, you know. But she had this glow. Oh my God, it was beautiful.
Was it peaceful?
It was peaceful, but it was the
She
glow
looked
of
beautiful.
the
Skin is flawless.
it was the beauty of the Lord. I'm telling you, God is faithful. So you know, I had to give him a yes when I was typing to Lee, you know. I had no control. I just thank him that he loved me enough to let me know what was about to happen, you know. And then I had to go home to get some stuff, and I knew that she wasn't going to come through the doors anymore. So I had to walk all that out before it actually transpired, you know. I went in her room, her laptop was still there, everything like she was coming back, you know, and girl, just walking through that house, I would never hear her voice, her laughter, her mom, what's for dinner, you know, none of that. We're going to get our nails done, you know, none of that anymore. But he allows you to walk through the process, you know.
So when you left the hospital and you went home, did you leave the hospital straight away after she passed, or did you spend the day still there with her?
When Sia, we were there when she transitioned. Because everything was shutting down, all her organs, everything. And it was my husband and I, and my two boys, her brothers. And I said, well, we'll just take this machines off. Because we talked to the doctor, we met with all of them. They met with us and talk with us, and they would talk about some organs, and my boys, they weren't too happy about that, so they had to ask them, please let's not talk about that right now. And the doctors, they were crying because this was new for them, you know. And so we gave the permission just to take the machines off, and whatever God decides to do, that's how it'll be.
Did you give the hospital the right maybe to use, you know, her organs?
No, we didn't. We didn't do that. They did want to do that, but at that time we just wasn't at a place right then. I didn't want them cutting on her, taking her heart, and
Yeah.
and my husband was like, no. I'm sure that she probably, on her driver's license though, I don't recall her having that, but I remember us having that conversation, and I think she did want that. But at that time, we were just not at a place right then to do that. And my husband, he definitely didn't want any more cutting, so I honored that. So what we did is we waited to see what the Lord was going to do, and her heart was beating, and she was just flowing right along for quite a while.
Really?
Mhm.
After she transitioned to the other side?
Yes, her heart was
It was
still beating.
beating.
Yeah. And I believe that was giving us a time to just, whatever closure we needed at that time. I remember calling my spiritual dad in South Africa, and he was praying, and him and his wife, and they were just so messed up. All his brothers who live here in Tennessee, because she was like their little niece, She's gone with us to South Africa to minister, and just so many wonderful things. But when it stopped, that was it.
So you stayed there
I
until
stayed
the heart,
right there.
until her heart stopped.
I sure did. I did. And I waited. I just stayed there.
And how long did that take? Was it hours? Was it?
It took about an hour or so. Yeah. I thought that it might have happened a little sooner, but it didn't. And I was okay with that. And eventually we did leave. And then some of our very good friends had come, but we told them what happened, and they were just devastated in the parking lot, Yeah. But that was, it's one thing when you go to the hospital to pray for other people and their situation, but it's a whole nother story when it's your situation, But, even through that, God graced us to be able to walk through that,
So did your faith at any point, did it, shake, or, did you feel,
was I mad
bitter
at God,
and anger and, frustration, that despite your belief and your faith, that
I think for
God
me,
allowed it to happen?
I think for me, I was just in pain because she was no longer here. I wasn't bitter or anything because of what he allowed us to experience. And then the day that we got home, we went across the street to get biscuit from our neighbors, and we were walking, and I happened to look up, and right up in the sky over our home was her face, smiling, the way her hair was bright. I could see it just as clear as day. And I was like, see her? Oh my God. But my husband couldn't see it. But I saw it because the Lord ministered to me sometime through the clouds and the sky, But I'm telling you, I know what I saw. She had this big smile on her face. And I was like, wow, God, really? So I think for me, I think I was okay, but I was in pain later, And my husband, I think he was okay, but later he was mad at God, And I remember when we came home and we walked in the house and everything, and he just held me. And he said, honey, I just need to make love to you. And I wasn't like, what you mean you need to make love to me at this time? You know what I mean? It kind of like tripped me out for a minute there. Okay, now wait a minute. You know what I mean?
It sounds funny, isn't
but he needed that because we both were hurting. She came from both of us, And so that portion of us was gone now.
Yeah.
And so since we were like the closest thing to that, we just needed to intertwine.
Yeah.
So I got it. And it was beautiful, Now listen, I don't know what would have happened had God not had him to say that. I could have become distant because of my pain and, you know, all that. But it just brought us together even more. And I'm so grateful for that, you know.
Yeah.
But at first my mind was like, well, did he just ask me, you know, did he just know what happened, you know. But I couldn't even comprehend all that. I was just like, okay, you got me. You know.
So,
yeah.
so after the funeral, what, you know, because I know that you've got a foundation now
Yeah.
for SEA, and you're raising
Right.
funds
Right.
for other, you know, children
Yes.
who are aspiring to educate themselves, you know, that might need some help.
Right.
So maybe if you just show us this,
Yeah, I wanted to share one thing though before I share that, if
Yeah.
that's okay with
Yeah.
you, Zena?
yeah, sure,
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay, so I want to share this because one of my friends had they were renewing their marriage, a nurse that I used to work with. And out of all the managers, she asked me to be in her renewal. And I'm saying to myself, well, wow, I don't even know you like that, you know? So I never really thought much about it. But I was supposed to be in Abuja ministering at a conference. And I want to share this for a reason.
Is this an Abuja?
Yeah, Abuja, Nigeria.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
So so I was talking to my husband because they wanted to answer, like, because I would respond, but I just took, I don't know, I was just kind of just taking a minute. This was before the situation happened.
Yeah.
And I'm sharing this for a reason. And so my husband said, well, babe, go and tell him you're coming. And I said, I don't know, let me just go pray for a minute. And so I went into the office and I just prayed. I said, Lord, they want me to come to minister at this conference in Abuja, but I want to know, what do you want? And he said, say no to Abuja, but yes to your friend at work. And I said, but why? I don't even know her like that, you know? And this is what I said. And he said, say no to Abuja, say yes to her. He said, there are going to be people there at her wedding, vow renewal, that will need me. I'm saying to myself, that don't make sense. But I obeyed. And I told my husband, he said, what? I said, well, that's what he said. He said, well, whatever he said, that's what you do. So I typed them and I told them I couldn't come because the Lord had another assignment. And they were mad. And my spiritual mom was really mad at me, for real, to be honest with you. Okay, the point blank. But I had to make a choice. Am I going to obey man or obey God?
That's right.
And listen, had I been in Abuja, Sia would have had that and I wouldn't have been home. And I wouldn't have been able to get back quick enough.
Oh, wow.
And I would have felt so guilty for not being there. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I just said, Lord, I want to thank you, you know? And so I'm sharing this to say it's so important that we can hear the voice of God, because his voice is what protects us from so many things. I don't even know how I would have felt had I been over there preaching.
Yeah. So a lot of people probably hear the voice of God, but they don't actually adhere to it. So we all hear, you know, spiritual sense that, you know, give you a sense of direction. Go there, don't do this, do that. And at times, you know, sometimes you think, well, why should I do that? You know, and, you know, some people don't follow it. I know you know, it's happened to me many a times that I don't listen to that inner spirit that tells me not to do something or to do it. And when I don't adhere to it, I have suffered the consequences as a result.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. Listen, only thing I can say, you know, I'm not perfect. I've missed it too, but I thank God I didn't miss it that time, because you know, he answers. The Holy Spirit does answer, and he does talk to us, and it's up to us to really cultivate that relationship. And I love him, you know, and one thing that I've always tried to instill in Sia, first of all, to love the Lord, But I knew that she had, just because her parents are ministers doesn't mean she's going to be saved. You understand what I'm saying?
That's right.
And we can't force it on them. We just have to live the life. And I thank God that she chose Jesus. But I also wanted to let her know, and I would tell her that, listen, you know, mommy and daddy, we love you. And, you know, and we have you. We'll do what we can do for you, but we don't love you more than anything in this world. You know, I love Jesus more than anything in this world and your father, because it was Jesus first, then your dad, then came you, which is a tremendous blessing. But I never wanted her to feel like she was our world, because so many times parents, their whole life is centered around their kids. And yes, do we have to take her to her games and do this and that? Of course, but our life is not built around you. And I wanted to make sure that she understood that as she was starting to grow up, you know. But also I want her to know that we loved her. And so I think as a mom, I know that she know. I'm not going to say knew. I know that she know, because she's still alive, that we love her, and she know that her home was embraced with love. But she know that she couldn't manipulate us. You know what I mean? That's what I mean. Like, they're your world. Because I've heard people say, I don't know what I would have done. And my child is my world. And I said, that's pretty dangerous, you think? You know, because that means that they could do no wrong. They're like way up here. And then that means they're controlling you.
That's right.
You know? And so, but to believe it or not, when that situation happened, and then my husband and I, we slept in Sia's room, because she had a bed that had pulled out from the bottom too. We slept on the bottom. And so Biscuit was in there. And so then that morning was the morning that the lady was having her renewal.
Right.
So, but prior to that, when my husband got up, I was in there. But the dog, he was moving around, but then all of a sudden he stopped Biscuit, and he's looking like this. He just looking up, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? And then I looked, and I was like, oh my God. I just slid down in the bed like this, because I realized that Sia was in that room at that time, because he stopped and he just looked up, and he was looking like this. And then he was, you know, and I'm like, what are you doing? What's wrong? Then I was like, oh my God. I just slid down, Zen, just like this.
Were you afraid?
I was like, what is going on? Yeah, you know, I was like, I just knew, I was a little nervous. Yeah, I'm not going to lie.
Even though she's your child.
Even though she's my child, yeah, but I never encountered nothing like that. The dog realized, you know, I'm like, wait a minute. And then my husband, the door's open. He's looking for me back and forth, calling my name. And I'm saying to myself, how come he can't see me? I'm right here. You know, but I couldn't say anything. I didn't open my mouth. I was like a mummy. And I put that in that book. I'm serious. I was like this. And I heard her say, I was like, oh my God, Sia's in this room. I was like this. And she said, Mommy, I ain't opened my mouth. Mommy, you can hear me. You know you can hear me. And I said, yeah, I can hear you. And she said, Mommy, it is so beautiful here. She said, Mom, it is nothing like you would ever imagine. And she said, Mommy, thank you so much. She said, it's because of you I'm here, Mommy, thank you. And it was like, you know how you get ready to think something, but you don't get it out? It was like I was about to think it, and she answered it. I'm telling you, I was like this, and I was like, and she said, yes, Mommy. Grandma's here. I saw her.
Oh.
Yes, Mommy. Grandpa's here. Yeah, she was telling me who was there, but all she kept saying, it's so beautiful. Oh, Mommy. And she said, Mommy, I didn't see him. I didn't see him here. Like, oh,
who's him?
It was my brother-in-law, Calvin.
Right. So he's not there.
She didn't see him. She saw her brothers. She saw her grandmother. My husband's father.
So
she didn't see him.
Now, with that information, because obviously, you know, this is about Sia, so I don't really want to go too deep into the Bible.
It's okay.
but you know, we've heard that people have said that. I mean, even the Bible doesn't tell us that we'll see each other, as in see other family members. You know,
But it said
when you transition to the other side.
Yeah, but it says you'll know them though. That's our hope though. That's our hope, that the Bible said this is your hope, that you know that you have eternal life. And you don't mourn as other people mourn, because you know that you're going to see them again.
Right.
Yeah. So it does speak of that. So that's basically Jesus was telling us, don't get so freaked out like this is the end, because it's not.
Yes.
You know, that's the hope that you have, that you will see your loved ones again.
Yeah.
Those that have made it into the kingdom.
Right.
Now, when she said, listen, I'm telling you, I didn't get a chance to think it out. I was just about to think it, and she answered it. But it let me know that it's a reminder to me that we are spirit. We live in a body, and we have our mind, you know, the emotions and all the intellect, you know? And it was like another time, like after she had passed, it was probably a couple of months, and I was sitting in the living room, that same chair I sat in that morning, I found her, and I was having my devotion. And I heard her say, Mommy, Mommy. And I didn't say anything. She said, Mommy, you know you can hear me, a spirit to spirit. And I said, yes, yeah, I can. And she said, Mommy, don't be sad. Come on. I was sad, though. I'm not going to lie. I was sad because I was missing that girl, you know. She said, Mommy, don't be sad. Come on, don't be sad. Keep doing what God has called you and Dad to do, you know. And that was it. But it's spirit to spirit. So God speaks to us from our spirit to spirit. He doesn't speak to our mind, you know. It's none of that, because he's a spirit. And that's why he said, those that worship me must worship me in spirit and in truth.
That's true.
So, you know.
Okay. So I'm going to now go again to the foundation for SIA, because I think it's really important for you to talk about these.
Okay.
Because there'll be people out there who,
absolutely,
who might be able to support you.
Okay.
In any way that they're able to, because obviously it's helping other children
absolutely
out there who are aspiring to make something of themselves, but are falling short.
Okay.
You know, in some financial means.
Absolutely.
So I'll leave you to just
talk
a little bit about
we
this.
did start a foundation after SIA, like the following year. This is an article, we were just in the paper here, in the Volusia County paper, the Beacon News. It's a full page, and this is from one of our walks we had in October that was here in Deltona. We had one in Orlando too, but we had to cancel it due to the hurricane. And we had one in New Jersey at Lincoln Park there. But the Lord told us to start a foundation, a nonprofit organization. And I wasn't sure exactly what he meant. And he said he wanted us to educate people about brain hemorrhages and other adverse brain conditions. And so a brain hemorrhage is a type of stroke caused by an artery in the brain bursting around those localized areas. And the bleeding can occur on the inside of the brain or the outside of the brain. Hers was on the outside. So we do a lot of education with organizations and things like that, and schools. We really are into the schools because we want to make the students aware that are playing sports, because some people are very competitive and they can be very harsh, and a lot of kids have concussions and stuff like that. So we're educating, bringing awareness, and then we do workshops as well. And we provide scholarships for graduating high school seniors that will attend a college or university within the state of Florida in pursuit of a medical degree.
Fantastic.
And so we raise the money through the 5K Brain Walk and other fundraising events. We also give out Christmas, Thanksgiving baskets like turkeys and all that to families that are having a rough time. And at Christmas, we adopt several families. We buy the kids toys, and we also buy clothing for them. And we deliver it in Christmas costumes, quote unquote, you know. But that's our way of also giving back to the community. And also just letting people know that there are people out there that care. We feed the homeless. That's something we taught her to do, and we continue to do that. And we just wanted to really get the news out there to educate people, and so they can take preventive injuries measures. And we wanted to keep her story alive. So this article here that you see, this is a full page here. And these are our sponsors at the bottom for the 5K walk. And those are some of the winners and some of the board members and some of the participants. They're all not there, but we did, the newspaper did get some shots. And so we're grateful for that. And so out of that, and I'm sharing this too, not just so that you can support us, but I want you to know that, even though things happen in your life, suddenlies, tragedies, it doesn't mean like it's the end of the world. God still has a plan in all of that. And I know sometimes you can't see the plan, but you just have to trust him for the plan. And it's nothing wrong with crying and, stating how you're feeling, because my husband was mad at God for a minute. He told him, he said, we're preaching your gospel, we're doing all this. How come you didn't take me instead of her? All that. But the Lord allowed him to have his temper tantrum too. And he asked him, are you finished now? And he said, yeah, I'm done. And then the Lord began to speak to him. And he found himself just weeping and asking God to forgive him, But he wasn't mad at him because he wasn't mad at my husband because my husband was mad at him. He understood. But he still wanted him to get up because there were still things to do. And so I would share with you that, no matter your situation, you can always take that situation and turn it around into something better. Maybe some of you have kids or spouses that passed and for certain that they weren't walking with the Lord. You can do something in their honor and encourage people. Listen, they may not have been walking with him, and maybe on their last breath they might have called out. But I can't say as a parent that my son or my spouse was walking with the Lord. But I can tell you that God is good, and you will have an opportunity to surrender your heart to the Lord. Because that's I've been to funerals and I've done them, and I can't lie and say that this person was a good person and they did this and that. Because really the funeral isn't even about the person who's there. It's about the people that attend. So whatever your situation is, it's up to you to allow God to use that situation and turn it around for his glory and for your good.
So for people who want to donate to CS Foundation,
you can go to www.SIA, that's SIA, Brain Awareness, BRAINAWARENESS, foundation.org. You can click donate, or you can donate Cash App, that's Paula Yorker, $SY, S is in Sia, Y is in Yorker, B is in Brain, A is in Apple, S is in Sally, F is in Frank, 23. So that's $SYBASF 23. And that stands for Sia Yorker Brain Awareness Scholarship Foundation. So you can give that way too. And if you want to, you can mail in a donation. SYBASF, P.O. Box 391142. That's Deltona, Florida. The zip code is 32739.
And if anybody's interested in taking a part in the activities that you do to raise funds,
yes, ma'am.
How would they contact you?
So if you'd like to be a part of the virtual walk, maybe you can host a walk in your city or your country. You can do that too. You can contact us at 386-717-4380. And you can also email me at sybasf@gmail.com. Okay? You can, I had a little brain fog for a moment there, but that's okay.
Thank you very much, Paula. And also, I noticed here that you've written a book.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you can just tell us a little bit about your book.
This book here is called What Do You Do in the Midst of a Suddenly? And there's a trailer, a book trailer for this too with Zulon Press. You can purchase the book from us, or you can get it on Amazon as well. And basically, we have some people in there that have endorsed the book, people that know us. And it's talking about, we're really sharing Sia's story, but there are some key points in here too. We talk about dementia, all kind of things here that can be a suddenly for someone. My husband has written a portion in here to address fathers. Our oldest son wrote a portion to address siblings, and two of Sia's best friends wrote a portion to address best friends. And why is that? Well, because I realized that we weren't the only people that were hurting, even though we're her parents. Her brothers hurt too. Her friends were affected by this. As a matter of fact, there was over 1,000 people who attended her celebration service. Some of those people I didn't even know, but your kids meet people in college and things like that. They were all affected by this. I mean, people couldn't believe this happened because some people had just talked to her like the night before. And so, a lot of people did get saved too because it was a shock for them. But this book is available. It's a good bereavement book, a grief book for you to use for grief counseling. And it's also to encourage us and as a reminder that our children don't belong to us. They're just on loan. They really belong to God.
That's true.
So we would love for you to have that. We have the book, and you can also get a shirt, a t-shirt.
So there's a t-shirt as well that you can order
And I'm wearing
online.
one. Yeah.
Online. T-shirt of Sia. You can see that.
That's her
And
on the
this
back.
is and this is Sia's picture here.
Yeah, cool. As a matter of fact, I'm wearing one of the shirts today that goes with the book, and you can see her face on it a little bit. It's like you can see it a little. Yeah. So,
Thank you very, very much, Paula.
You're
Thank you
very
so
welcome.
much for your time. I really, really appreciate you taking the time out to talk about, your loss. And I pray that Almighty God will continue to console you,
Thank
your
you.
husband, and your family. I know no tragedy is easy for anybody to be able to deal with.
absolutely.
But for you to have come as far as you have done, and also to be able to, in all of your sadness, to actually be able to bring something positive
Yes.
out of it, I think is absolutely amazing. And I just pray that God will continue to guide you and lead you and enable you to continue to be an inspiration to other people. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. And thank you all so much for listening. And I truly do pray that you were blessed and that there's something that you grab that you can take and continue to embrace the beauty of life.
She has gone through, my goodness, I mean, it's shocking. And honestly, I really take my hat off to you. And you are such an inspiration, because I don't know how you've been able to cope with everything that you've told me about you, so look out.
Give myself away. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away. I give myself away so you can. Come on, let him know. I give myself. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away. What would happen if a generation embraced this? Come on, tell them. Here I am. Here I am. Here I stand. Here I am to worship. Here I am to bow. Here I am to say that you're my God. You're all together lovely, all together worthy, all together wonderful to me. Here I am, Lord, here I am to worship. Here I am to bow down. Here I am to say that you're my God. Oh God, you're all together lovely, all together worthy, all together wonderful to me. Here I am, Lord. Here I am to bow down. I give myself away. Oh God, you're my God. You're myself away. All together worthy. All together. Come on, one
Dear,
time with one great
and welcome
voice
to you,
tonight.
sweetheart. So just know you are loved and miss something terrible. I miss you each and every day. Cynthia, I love you. This walk today is you, baby. It's all for you.